This is the third part of the interpretation of the psychology of money. Recently, I came across a tweet where someone mentioned that Kevin Kelly's book Out of Control was very popular in China at the end of 2010. People were discussing it, but the person felt that things that are popular may be overhyped. So, he set a reminder for himself 10 years later, stating that if the book is still popular, he would read it again. 10 years later, he received the reminder and felt that Out of Control, along with Kevin Kelly, has become outdated, and he was glad he didn't read it. This is a fundamentally flawed approach to reading. Out of Control is actually a good book. Kevin Kelly is a thinker, and the notion of being outdated doesn't apply to such works. Even if a book becomes temporarily popular and then fades, it might reflect the spirit of that era, and by missing it, you might miss an opportunity from 10 years ago. Moreover, ideas accumulate over time. If you had read Out of Control 10 years ago, your thinking might have progressed significantly. From Kevin Kelly's foundation. Missing it means you didn't even have a starting point. This isn't about specific books, it's about the person's flawed reading system. Genuine readers shouldn't only aim to read good books and shouldn't fear wasting time on bad books. If you're afraid to read bad books, you can't ensure you'll read good ones. Here, I'd like to compare two modes of thinking, or you could call them mentalities. The mindset of only wanting to do right things can be termed as the top student mentality. This thinking is akin to those exemplary students in school who aim to excel in every subject, fearing any shortcomings. Such individuals hope to do at least 9 out of 10 things well and often apologize for the one thing they didn't do well. Certainly, there are numerous job positions in life that require a top student mentality. If you're an airline pilot, every flight must be executed flawlessly. If you're a teacher, every class must be taught well, and each student should be treated kindly. If you're a chef, you should strive to make each dish at a high level. The top student mentality fears making mistakes and believes all failures should be subject to criticism and all wastage should be reflected upon. However, the top student mentality is essentially an employee mindset. The tasks you perform are predetermined and must be done. But if you don't know what to do now, if you don't know the consequences of each task, if you're an entrepreneur, investor, or leader, you need to choose a few beneficial things from a multitude of possibilities, and the employee mindset won't suffice. You need the treasure hunter mentality. Let's continue discussing Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money. The book covers various topics: how to earn money, spend money, save money, and includes many ideas you might already be familiar with. We won't cover everything, just a few of the most interesting ones. The theme of this discussion is if you don't want to rely on a fixed salary to become wealthy, you need to change your system. You need to shift from an employee mindset to a treasure hunter mentality. People who invest know that investment portfolios exhibit a strong tail effect. Most of the projects you invest in won't succeed, but a few will be extremely successful, and almost all your returns will come from those extremely successful projects. This effect is the 80-20 rule in investment, and this investment is broad, not limited to stock trading. Take art, for example. You might think that people who make a lot of money buying and selling art have a good eye, know which artists will become famous, and specialize in picking up antiques. However, the key to art investment is not finding undervalued pieces, but going for quantity. You must buy in when someone like Picasso isn't as famous, and his works aren't as valuable yet. But since Picasso isn't that famous at the time, how can you be sure he'll become famous? So, you have to buy a lot. Your strategy is to buy anything that looks decent and has potential. History will prove that most of these works won't become hits, but as long as a few do, that's enough for you. The key to the treasure hunter mentality is casting a wide net. If you suspect there might be gems in a particular mine, can you say you'll only explore the part where you think there are gems? Can you say you'll only buy the mine with gems? You must control the entire area. Football schools, celebrity agencies, copyright agencies, IP adaptations, all follow this mindset. Maybe you've understood this principle for a long time, but I bet you underestimate how strong this effect is. Consider venture capital. Let's say you invest in 100 projects. Can you estimate the approximate ratio of success to failure among them? Housel cites a study. Analyzing 21,000 venture capital projects from 2004 to 2014, it found that 65% of projects incurred losses, 2.5% of projects grew 10 to 20 times, 1% of projects grew over 20 times, and 0.5% of projects, approximately 100 out of 21,000, earned over 50 times. This is the reality of venture capital. If you want to catch a project that can earn over 10 times, the probability is only 3.5%. If, by chance, you miss those few extremely successful projects, your venture capital endeavors will be a disaster. When you see someone making dozens of times profit from one project, you should know that their other projects might all be losses. Now you might say venture capital is too risky, and you won't invest in startups, you'll only invest in mature, already listed companies. The situation is similar. We discussed before that successful listing doesn't ensure a company's long-term success. JP Morgan Asset Management selected 3,000 outstanding companies and created the Russell 3000 Index. It analyzed the performance of these companies from 1980 to 2014, revealing 40% of companies experienced a market cap decline exceeding 70%, leading to complete failure. Almost all the returns of the Russell 3000 Index came from 7% of the companies. This is the same story. A very few extraordinarily successful ventures bring you all the income, while the rest either don't make money or incur losses. Note that these 3,000 companies were already carefully selected, yet they still had such a high failure rate. And this high failure rate isn't limited to emerging industries. The failure rate for high-tech companies is 57%, telecom companies is 51%, and even the most stable utility companies, involved in electricity, water, and transportation, have a 13% failure rate. Failure is common, success is rare. So, you might say, no, it's about having a good eye. Didn't our video say? To increase your advantage ratio, the best method is to raise the average, shift the normal distribution curve to the right. Yes, but others have already done that. Consider Warren Buffett. Isn't he a stock-picking expert? In 2013, at the shareholder meeting, Buffett mentioned that he had owned about 400 to 500 stocks throughout his life, and most of his money came from around 10 of them. Charlie Munger added that if you exclude our most successful investments, Berkshire's performance is quite mediocre. I has its limits. Ultimately, you still need to rely on volume. Even within those companies that are already outstanding and the most successful, many projects don't succeed, and successful projects are still very few. In the S&P 500 companies, Amazon contributed 6% of the entire index's return, and Apple contributed 7%. Does this mean that most projects of Amazon and Apple are successful? No, the majority of their projects aren't successful. Apple's major revenue comes from the iPhone, and Amazon's major revenue comes from Prime users and web services. Take Disney, for instance. Disney faced many difficulties in the early days, and its founder, Walt Disney, was extremely particular about film quality, liked making large investments and productions. However, most of the movies he produced resulted in losses. In the 1930s, Disney made over 400 animated films, and almost all of them failed. But among them was one that achieved tremendous success. That film was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. In the first half of 1938 alone, this animated film brought Disney $8 million in revenue. This money was enough to recover all the previous losses, make a substantial profit, and allow the company to expand. Now, we can say that Walt Disney was a genius. His vision was correct. Because of such high-quality productions, the company achieved great success. However, Walt Disney might not have imagined what his company would be like without Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. One film. Success or failure hinged on just this one film. This is a world where the distribution of good things is extremely uneven. In your lifetime, a few books might have the most profound impact on you. One or two skills might determine your future. A couple of things could change your destiny. A few people might be the most important to you. Missing them is an unacceptable loss, but you're very likely to miss them. What do you do? On one hand, of course, you need to improve your judgment and ability to do things well. You must first be able to choose potential good things, and strive to do them well. To increase the average success rate, you need to learn and imitate, seek recommendations from experts. But these are limited. There's no fixed algorithm for choosing good things in the world. This is why Buffett's stock picks mostly don't work well. Even if someone praises it, it may not be suitable for you. You are unique and can only make your own choices. John Wanamaker, the father of the department store, has a famous saying. I know that half of my advertising investment is wasted, but the problem is I don't know which half. Applying this, we can say that among all the choices you face, perhaps only 1% is the best and most suitable for you, but you don't know which 1%. So, you must cast a wide net. Don't expect miracles without quantity, there is nothing. Why does Charlie Munger look at reports all day? He has no choice. Most of the time, he only looks and doesn't buy. He has to look at a lot before selecting one. We talked about Albert Laszlo Barabási's The Formula, the universal laws of success before. Why can the most successful scientists make particularly significant discoveries? It's not because they are smarter, mainly, it's because they try enough. I once read a study from 2015 saying, why are people who can generate creative ideas particularly creative? The study examined the thinking patterns of their brains, and the most crucial aspect was that they had many ideas. Because they had many ideas, it was easier for them to think of the most creative one. It's quantity that brings quality. Why do I know about this study? Because I've read many studies. I'm like Charlie Munger, looking at reports all the time, searching for topics for our channel. This study wasn't enough to become an independent topic, it's just auxiliary evidence placed here. In fact, I've squandered many potential good topics. But that's not a waste, it's just that they didn't make the cut. This is actually evolutionary thinking. What's called failure should actually be called an attempt. You have to cast a wide net, try a lot, expand the search range, not fear wasting time and money, to ensure finding the best ones. If you only want to do the right things proven to be feasible by history, your path will narrow over time. Netflix CEO Reed Hastings sometimes intentionally cuts off some big-budget films that he knows can recoup costs. These films often involve mature themes, and as long as you invest enough, viewership can be guaranteed. However, too many films of the same theme can lead to repetition, and viewers will eventually get bored. Netflix's strategy is to prefer making fewer big-budget films, saving money to invest in exploratory, adventurous projects. Some viewers may not like them, they might even cancel their subscriptions after watching. But Hastings hopes to provoke some viewers, because he thinks there are too few people unsubscribing nowadays. Catching good things often means you have to act quickly. Sometimes you can't think too much, can't expect to plan and then act, but should have or not have dates, hit the jackpot and then decide. My sentiment is that people's proactiveness in searching for good things is too low. Institutionalized education and routine work have tamed people too much. You can't wait for good things to come to you, you have to actively seek them. It's like playing a game, you have to search everywhere you go, see if there's any treasure. This isn't just about investment. Whether a novel is enjoyable or a game is fun sometimes depends on whether there's treasure in it. Real treasures often aren't bought with every penny, you have to discover them yourself.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.